15-time world champion, Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MightyCast.
Henry saying he text fucking ALJO the game plan. Holy shit, dude. I don't know. I'm like, you can at least drive a car. You're not as stupid as I think you are, because I would assume he couldn't even drive a car by some of the shit he says. Yeah. I told him he's gonna punch him. I told him he's gonna counter. I literally told him. Look, I told him he's gonna counter punch. It's like, we're in a fight, you fucking dork. You tell him I was gonna wear a cup too? Told him he's gonna wear a mouth guard. I told him, look at, he's gonna wear a mouth guard. He's gonna move his foot. He's gonna move his feet. He's gonna circle. He's gonna try not to get taken down. It's like, holy shit. You think that your audience is actually watching that going, holy shit. He fucking called it. Oh my God, it was just embarrassing watching him say that. It was embarrassing. I was like, oh.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to MightyCast episode 2. I had to watch that video that my producer sent me. It is basically Sugar Sean O'Malley basically commented on the leaked DMs that Henry told Aljamain Sterling. Absolutely hilarious. I think Sugar's hilarious. Let's start there. He's absolutely hilarious. And I can understand where he's coming from, right? I mean, he is right. They are in a fight. But sometimes when athletes exchange messages, trying to give each other tips or whatnot, some of us want to try to sound like a genius. Of course, Sugar Sean O'Malley is going to punch because it's a fight. Of course, he's going to counter. He's done it all his fights. It's one of the things he's very good at. I think the way the nature it went, how Henry leaked it, kind of could have rubbed people the wrong way. If you look at it that way, where Henry was like, I told him to do this and this. I told him I'm a genius. I think Sean is like, you freaking dork. Of course I'm gonna punch. I'm gonna wear a cup too. And that's where you got that. But I think Sugar's on a roll right now. I think he is the hottest name in the UFC because the knockout he just did, Aljamain Sterling, and he's a very colorful athlete, and he's very outspoken. And I think a lot of people like that. And good video, Michael. Good video. Send that to me. I think it was hilarious how he just basically put Henry on blast. I can't believe that Henry posted that leaked DM. You had something to do with that, Michael. You had something to do with it, right?
Yeah. So to give it a little bit of backstory, so just so you guys know, Demetrious can't see my setup right now because we want to retain the highest video quality possible. So we're talking on the phone as we record in our each individual cameras, but I am right now sitting in Henry Cejudo's chair. His titles are behind me, so I am responsible a little bit for that. But to give it a little bit of backstory, so Henry comes in the studio. We usually tape on Mondays, and he's so excited. He runs in with his phone, and he's like, dude, you got to take a look at this. He pulls out his phone, and he's like, you need to understand, he wanted me to film him immediately, so I don't even have the time to, register this information. Should I do it? Like, what is he even doing immediately? And that's why if you look at the footage, I'm just holding my camera handheld. It's not even on a tripod. And then he just starts reading off the DMs and so I do want to apologize a little bit to ALJO for leaking those, but I also do want to blame it on Henry because he was extremely excited and it did make for some good video. But no, I did want to ask you from your perspective, if you were ALJO, and we're going to talk a little bit more about ALJO later because you actually happened to meet up with him in Vegas. So what is your take on that as a fighter? If you were to reach out to someone and then have that leaked, just what are your thoughts on that, I guess?
So for me, I think it's all based on the athlete. I got DMs from athletes, one Conor McGregor back in 2000, I think it was 15, 16. It was actually after I beat Henry Cejudo. And we exchanged, some DMs, never displayed it or talked about it. But I think it's a form of privacy. For me, if I DM somebody and I'm it's kind of hush hush or whatever, I don't expect it to leak out. So I was laughing with ALJO because I said, I can't believe Henry Cejudo leaked those DMs. He goes, I don't. The fucking Henry. I'm not gonna lie to you. I kind of expected it from Henry. I expected that from him. But then again, we're trying to share knowledge behind closed doors. So. For me, I was just laughing. I was shocked that Henry did it. But like you said, it was Henry so excited he did it. And you did your you did your job above. Just record it.
Yeah, and here's the second angle I wanted to ask you about too. So you play the video, Sean O'Malley's sitting there. He doesn't really think Henry gave any specific advice, anything that was actually, the mystic triple C, so to speak. What is your take on that? Do you think Henry gave him good advice, or did he say pretty generic stuff from your vantage point as a fighter?
I mean, I didn't really look at the DMs to see exactly what Henry said, but I think what Sean's getting at is that Henry's trying to sound like the mystic triple C. That's what I'm getting at, right? And obviously it's solid advice. I mean, any advice from somebody who comes from that you respect and you have, you believe in your skill set, you always want to know what they think. Because even when I fought Adriano the second time, here he goes, dude, don't kick him. Don't kick him. He's going to take you down. I was like, I don't give a shit. I'm going to kick him. Because it's just my style. I just go out there and fight. I don't really follow a strategic game plan. I just go out there and fight, and whatever happens, happens. I should be good enough to make adjustments during the fight to be able to overcome the mistakes I make. So for me, I think the advice that Henry gave him, I mean, it makes sense. But I agreed with Sugar Sean O'Malley. Of course he's going to punch. He's going to try to counter because you look at all Sugar Sean O'Malley's fights, that's what he does best. He's a great striker, great counter. He gets you overextended and catches your chin.
No, yeah, so DJ, one thing I wanted to ask you, though, okay, so Henry's obviously, I think he's doing his job getting under O'Malley's skin, but it's hard to believe that he's going to actually get that title shot. So who do you think of the guys that O'Malley is talking about? He's talked about Cheeto, there's Henry, there's Merab, there's an ALJO rematch. What do you think, in your opinion, is probably next and should be next for Sugar?
I think Sugar's in that Sugar lane. He's doing whatever he wants. I think he's the biggest star in that bantamweight division. So I think for him, he can dictate what's going to happen. I can visualize and I can foresee. I can see it right now in my mind, the mighty vision. I can see Sugar Sean O'Malley walking to the office, sitting down. He might have some proper 12 whiskey in front of him. I have no idea if he drinks that type of stuff. But he might have his sugar marijuana in front of him. He's going to take a hit, and he goes, Dana, I don't know who I'm going to fight. Who do you think would be the best one? It could be Merab. It could be Cheeto. I mean, anybody he fights, anybody's going to tune in. So I don't think it matters who he fights because I believe he is a draw in that division. So if I have to, who I would like to see him fight next, I would love to see him fight. I love to see him fight Merab because I believe Merab is on a win streak. He is on a win streak, and I think that gets looked way over nowadays. Like back in the past, if you got 3 or 4 5-fight win streak in a division, you're going to get that next title shot. So I think I would love to see Merab get that opportunity to fight Sugar Sean O'Malley, get revenge for his buddy, Aljamain Sterling. That's where I'm going to leave it right there. I'm not going to go all day. I know Sugar's talking about Ili Topuria, those two fighting, but I don't want to go be a matchmaker, but I would love to see Merab get his opportunity to fight for a world title now that Aljamain Sterling is not the champion. I'm leaving it there. Don't ask me again, Michael, or me. You're going to have problems.
Oh, yeah, and I actually almost forgot to talk about this. You met ALJO in Vegas. Where did
shit.
that?
That's right, yeah. So it was funny. Me and the wife were going to the premium outlets in Las Vegas, and she was parking, and I saw him pulling up with his fiance, and we got out, we started chopping it up. And one thing for me is I want every single athlete to ever step foot in a cage, ring, whatever it is. I want you guys to succeed, make as much money as possible. I am always on you guys' side. I am always for the athlete or the promoter. So when I saw ALJO, nothing but respect. We started chopping it up. We started talking about the fight. I said, dude, next time you fight, if I'm in Vegas facing my dad, I'll love just to work with you, just to feel your energy, to feel your funk master, to see what made you successful, what made you a world champion. And he said vice versa. We talked about business. We talked about what he wants to do next. And the biggest thing we talked about was the grind of a champion. The grind of a champion. You guys don't know this, but ALJO, he got surgery on his neck. He's had surgery on his hands. He's had surgery on his shoulders, I believe. And every single time you get surgery, it takes a lot out of you. And as him being a champion, he fought Cejudo. Then he did a quick turnaround and fought Sugar Sean O'Malley. He had no time to relax. That was one of the things that I hated about being an MMA champion, because once you win the world title, once you win, or even defended it, You go to the fucking press conference and they go, hey, what's going on, guys? John Morgan here for MMA Junkie. Great fight, great crowd. So what's next? It's like, I haven't got an opportunity to get back to the room, then hit it from behind with my wife. Give me an opportunity to get home and get some sex. Like, and that's the crazy thing. So me and him were talking about that, and he wanted to grind. And he was like, dude, I'm about to go on vacation. Like, I haven't had a vacation in, like, you know, it's been back-to-back camps, back-to-back surgeries. Like, I have no opportunity to actually make to live. And for me, I understood where he's coming from, because in 2013, I fought John Dodson in Chicago. That was my first title defense. And then I was about to fight John Moraga. I believe it was in March. But then I had to pull out that fight because I get shoulder surgery. So I got shoulder surgery in, I believe it was March or April. Rehabbed it. Fought John Moraga in July. Beat him there. And then in December, I turned around and I beat Joseph Benavidez. Now, nowadays, you would be lucky. I'm going to say it again. You would be lucky to see a world champion fight 3 times in a year and get surgery. You will never fucking see that nowadays. Never see that. So, like I said, we're a dying breed. But it was cool to chop it with ALJO. Nothing but love. Make sure you go follow ALJO on his YouTube channel. He's been grinding as well. But yeah, nothing but love at ALJO. We had a good conversation about business and athletes and surgery and taking time off and the championship grind. I mean, the only person who's doing that type of fighting is Alex Volkanovski and Israel Adesanya. Those are the guys who are the most active, I feel like, as a champion. But those guys aren't getting surgery, so they're still healthy, but they are on a grind right now. But
Volkanovski did just get surgery for what it's worth.
Yeah, hand surgery, right?
Hand or arm, I believe. But
yeah, so now he's got to fight 3 times in 1 year.
No, yeah, but to go off your point, it's not like he has a future fight scheduled, so maybe he'll end up taking some significant time off, which is not what ALJO did. He had to turn around right away. But
a fucking way.
Yeah, but one follow up of you bring up so Merab, you think he should get the title shot, which is what you established. What do you make of this relationship with ALJO, that they're not actual brothers, which I'm sure they are, brothers in friendship. What do you make
They would never fight. They would never fight. Why? Because I know you just know, and you know what? I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt, but when I met Aljamain Sterling, I know, I can feel for him. He's not that. That's not in his character. Money doesn't rule all, right? Like, I think friendship goes a lot further with that man than money does. And I feel the same way with Merab, right? Like, I would never fight. Maybe Henry would do it, but like, now that me and Henry have like a friendship, I would never fight Henry. I just don't care to, right? Like, it's like me fighting, my wife for a bag. You hear people out there say it. People are waiting for the villain arc between me and Henry, but I would never fight Henry. I just have no interest to. Even they were giving me a big back because he's my friend, but I didn't feel that type of energy from Aljamain Sterling, and I know he wants the best for Merab, because Merab hasn't had the opportunity to shine under the lights. He hasn't had gold wrapped around his waist, but Aljamain Sterling has. And when Aljamain Sterling had that gold wrapped around his waist, when you look behind ALJO, who did you see there backing him up? Merab. When Sugar Sean O'Malley stepped in the cage, who was there backing ALJO up? Merab. I think they do Sugar Sean O'Malley versus Merab for that, that thriller jacket. That's what I'm going to see. I want the thriller jacket, and I want gold-studded diamonds in it. The winner gets it, and the belt.
But if what you're saying, but what I'm trying to get at is, if what you're saying is true, then do you think it is time for ALJO to sit back and, like you said, take that break, let Merab get the title shot, and then instead of, because he's saying he wants to get that rematch, that's his goal. Do you think he should accept, if UFC goes to him and offers him that immediate rematch, do you think he should do it even if that means Merab's going to have to wait another year when he's already had to wait?
I think Merab and him are going to have a conversation. That's a conversation that him and Merab should have. And I think they're both close enough to have that difficult conversation and go from there. I mean, that's what I would do. I mean, ALJO's 34 years old. I mean, he was still on vacation. So, and let's say, and here's the thing, there's nothing wrong being, the Goro or the Minotauro. You probably don't play Mortal Kombat, but Minotauro and Goro will never be Shao Kahn or Shang Tsung, right? There's nothing wrong being number 2 if your best friend is number 1. You know what I mean? So right now, that's how I see with those two. Aljamain Sterling was Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung, and Merab was Goro and Minotauro or Kitaro, whatever one you guys love. Why not reverse it? Why not Merab be Shao Kahn and Shang Tsung, and then Aljamain Sterling is the guy you fight before you fight, Shang Tsung. So I don't see why not, but that's a conversation those two need to have.
No, and I agree with that. And for me personally, I'd like to see Merab get that title shot. It's likely going to be Cheeto for storyline, which complicates things even further. But no, we'll have to monitor it. We'll continue to. That's going to be a discussion. I feel like we're going to have a lot on this podcast, so we'll discuss it. But it was very cool to see you guys interact, especially after you saying that you beat his ass in MMA. So
I told him that straight up. I said, dude, you would get. I told my son. I said, Tyron, I would not let that fucker on my back. And Tyron goes, why? And I was like, he's gonna wrap those long, black, skinny ass legs around my waist in a triangle. And I said, the one thing you do that works out well for me, Aljo, is you cross distance. You come right in that wheelhouse of fighting the clinch, and I love fighting the clinch, but I have to watch out. I'm just a realist. I think there's something wrong with that being transparent. And I told him straight up. I said the only fight that appetized me was me fighting you. I was like, I told the matchmakers who won championship that. I said that's the only fight that I wanted to do. But now that you're not champion, there's nothing that appeases me. So I feel I'm 37 years old. I'm very mature. I know what I bring to the table. I know my skill set, and I think it's okay to tell someone, I was like, hey, I think I'll beat you in the clinch. The only way to prove that I'm right is to fight him in the clinch. And if we were to fight in the clinch, and if I was to lose, I'm like, shit, you were better than I thought in the clinch. That's all it is. It's not talking shit. It's just me stating my opinion. And it might be factual. I just have to prove that fact. Same thing with Bradley Martin. Is that he thinks he could beat me in a grappling match. Well, he thinks he beat me in a street fight. Which street fight, we already went over that. It's totally fucking different. But in a grappling match, I believe I can beat him. Just because he's bigger doesn't mean he can beat me. Only way we can prove that is by grappling. That is it. No animosity. That is it. But we did just have some fights, past weekend with the UFC Korean Zombie taking on Max Holloway. That was a banger. Would you say so, Michael? I mean, that was an absolute banger.
No, yeah. I mean, that's one thing that's weird about, I find kind of weird about UFC. Sometimes, like, the pay-per-views have all this hype behind them, and then when it comes to a fight night, it's kind of hard to get that, like, promotional beast behind them. And it's like, dude, we're getting Korean Zombie versus Max Holloway in Singapore. I felt like that when, and to be fair, on both of us are on the West Coast, so that was, a 5 a.m. main card for us, so that doesn't help things. But I was surprised more people weren't talking about it, and it absolutely lived up to the hype. So I was like, come on, more people got to get interested in this. Max Holloway, Korean Zombie. I've wanted to see that fight for years. Korean Zombie's a guy that I know personally, working with Henry Cejudo. I've interviewed him a couple times, and when I interviewed him last, this was well before the Holloway fight was made, and he was already like, yeah, I want to fight Max Holloway. I think he always knew, like, this is going to be the last fight of my career almost. I feel like if he won, if he won, he almost was going into it like, yeah, dude, I'm going to give all of it. But let's go to your reaction, because this went pretty viral. We talk about Mystic Triple C, but here's a little bit of a Mystic DJ.
Yeah, see, he knows he needs to make it a suck best. He's going to get dropped again. He's testing his chin, and that's just not a good way to do it. Max has got a chin. It's Matt's box. Oh, I told you! I fucking told you don't do that!
You saw it coming right away. Start of the second round. You're like, third round. Like, what is going on? Why is Zombie just coming out swinging? What do you think the reason was that Zombie came out like that third round? And why did you know, like, this dude's about to get dropped again?
Well, I mean, you back to the second round. He already got dropped once, right? I mean, Korean Zombie, that's where he got that name from. For people out there who don't know Korean Zombie from WEC days, me and him actually fought in the same card, WEC 48, where I fought Brad Pickett. And that's just his style. He comes forward, his hands down, taking lots of shots, giving lots of shots. Typically, his opponents fold under pressure. Now, when you fight a guy like Max Holloway, the greatest boxer in the UFC, he's going to land those clean shots. He's going to be in a position to counter perfectly. And you saw him get dropped already in the second round. And then all of a sudden, the third round, he's like, fuck it, I'm going on my shield. I'm making a slugfest. And that's what essentially happened. He came forward throwing all those shots. Max is an athlete. If you bring fire to Max is going to bring the fire right back to you. And when he did that, he was throwing his shots, overextending, leaning out of his comfort zone, the body's comfort zone, to be able to reciprocate energy. And once he did that, Max was in a good position. You go back and watch the replay that we just did. The overhand right landed perfectly clean, and they were exchanging, because the shot that Korean Zombie landed when he got knocked out, it actually landed against Max. But Max was in a better position to reciprocate that energy. Now, if Max's chin was out and he was out of balance and he was overextended, he would have got knocked. He probably would have got dropped too, but Max Holloway, the blessed train, never gets dropped. I mean, this man's probably absorbed so many punches in the UFC, and I don't ever think he's ever been dropped whatsoever. So that's what happened, Michael. I mean, when you go against Max, you have to be a clean boxer and mix it up. You know, the first round, it was pretty much a boxing match. They threw a couple kicks. Second round, Max dropped him, so there was a little grappling exchange, the Darce or the Anaconda. Then he went to the knee ride. And then after that, the third round, it went back to a straight boxing match where Korean Zombie got dropped. And I think he just said, fuck it. You know, I'm down two fights. We're just going to try to do our best to, you know, go out on our shield, give the fans what they want to see, which is an exciting fight. And he went down in the shield. I mean, I was like, I told you. What'd you think was going to happen? I love that because I told him, like, he can hear me through the TV, which he can hear me through the TV, right? It's like, I told you, Korean Zombie. And my wife was like, you know he can't fucking hear you, right, babe? You know that, right? So it was an amazing fight. And, you know, Korean Zombie going off in retirement, I think it's the best thing he could do. I mean, he's been fighting for a very, very, very long time. Like I said, WC, never die. And he fought Jose Aldo. He fought Leonard Garcia. He fought Yair Rodriguez. I mean, the list just goes on of who's who he's fought in WC and the UFC. So I think this is spinning. He did 2 years of military service. A lot of people didn't know that. So, but what I've been told is that if you are Korean and you live in Korea, you have to do a mandatory 2-year service in the military. So he took 2 years off of his career to go do his military services. And that's something that kind of eats at an athlete's career, because at the end of the day, we're only getting older. And I always say we're a ticking time bomb. There's going to be a point in time where your body's like, dude, we're done. Like, I can't, my chest's not as strong. My cardio isn't the same. My body doesn't recover as much when we fight. So he lost 2 years of his life as an athlete. And he had even a long layoff prior to this Max fight, I believe, because prior to this fight, he lost to Yair Rodriguez, correct, Michael?
You're saying Zombie?
Yeah, I feel like he lost to Yair Rodriguez.
No. So it was Volkanovski. So it was.
Oh,
it was
that's right.
18 months. 18 months that he was taken off since, and that was, which once again I got to see a lot of that camp and Henry working with Zombie. And, you know, talking to Henry, he kind of said the most thing that he was looking for with Zombie was adjusting his stance a little bit and, you know, being a little bit more technical. That was the thing he didn't like in the Volkanovski fight, was his striking defense. He kind of was just standing there. And it's so, we call him Zombie for a reason, and we like forget that sometimes. Like, the dude, like, you can't, and that's what I love about him, is like, you cannot change this dude. Like, he wants to put on a show. He wants to just run at you. I don't think even a Henry Cejudo or Eddie Cha, who's also an awesome guy, he's here in Phoenix at Fight Ready. You know, it's not on them. You cannot change Koreans. And that's what makes him loved and one of the most popular fighters in UFC history. It's not because of his record or, you know, he never did win a title in WEC or UFC. It's really just because of that style. So how much can you tell this guy now, like, let's do something different. Let's completely change the way you fight, when he's probably thinking like, no, I just want to go out there and have fun, you know? And I thought it was the absolute perfect way to end his career. Even if he got knocked out, that's Zombie. You know, what the way he went after that fight, you being like, what are you doing? Like, how could you ever be doing that? It's because, dude, this guy's the Korean Zombie. That's how he knows fighting, and he's gonna do that until his last fight. So I do respect that about him.
Yeah, what that's always nothing but respect for Korean Zombie and all the athletes. And you're right. I mean, that's where he got his name, Korean Zombie. Ever since he jumped on this scene in WC, that's how he fought. He's never changed. And it's kind of crazy to think he fought Yair Rodriguez, got knocked out. Then he fought Alex Volkanovski. Is that correct? Is that what you're seeing on his Wikipedia page about like his fights? So he went from Yair to Alex and then to Max Holloway.
Yeah. So let me pull that up because no, he did. I know he knocked out Moicano. And so what I'm looking at right now, just pulling up Sherdog. So Yair was a Wabex. You're missing. So I want to say this too. Last week, people just shit on us so bad about.
I love it. I love it.
That's why everyone just showed. You know, I got the MacBook out here because last week everyone's like, no, you guys you guys forgot a bunch of stuff with the bantamweight because you were trying to go through the bantamweight history and they're just like DJ missed like all these fights. So looking at it now, so yeah, he had that crazy knockout loss to Yair Rodriguez. But then he knocked out Renato Moicano, who's really actually turning out to. I love him. Go follow him on YouTube.
Yeah, I know you're talking about. I remember him. He's when he goes, "I want my fucking money."
Yeah, exactly.
Ton
Of charisma. He's grinding on YouTube. I always respect guys that do that. Then Frankie Edgar, he knocked out. That was amazing. I believe that was in Korea. Then he lost to Ortega. Then he beat Ige, and this is where it's interesting because you'd think he didn't do enough at that point to earn a title shot, but why he got that Volkanovski title shot was because he filled in last second. I forgot.
That's what it was.
Yeah, it might have been Max Holloway. Someone couldn't fight Volk, and so then Zombie filled in. They wanted that name recognition, and I don't think he was ready for it, and it certainly looked that way when the fight happened. So that's how he got the title shot, and then of course Max Holloway. So that's and he's the same age as you too, just for what it's worth. So I think you do have some good perspective on this.
Yeah, 37, and it's not like he's never fought. I mean, he's fought for the title multiple times because he fought Jose Aldo for the title, right? And then he fought Volkanovski for the title. And that's the crazy thing is that I totally forgot that he knocked out Frankie Edgar and the other gentlemen too between the time span of everything that just happened, right? You always see the replay of Yair Rodriguez hitting him with that back elbow, and then other than that, you see all his other highlights, but you don't really see, a lot of things that Korean Zombie did leading up to the point where Max and him fought. So my apologies, fans, and all the all the people out there. I forgot you guys know way more than I do, which you guys probably do, but you guys don't have 15 world titles like my black ass does. But moving on, what does Max Holloway do next? I think if Alex Volkanovski never existed in the UFC, I think Max Holloway would be the world champion at featherweight. But unfortunately, you do have a guy like Alex Volkanovski who's beat Max Holloway 3 times. So I think, Max sits in the wing and see what happens between Illy and Alex. I think that's going to be an amazing fight. And then I think if Illy can beat Alex, then I think that gives Max Holloway the opportunity to fight for the featherweight champion. Unless they do, Max versus Volkanovski 4. But I think by that time, Volkanovski is going to go up to 155 and just fight against Islam Makhachev and then maybe even retire. Because right now, if I had to give it, who's the most well-rounded champions in the UFC, it'll probably be Alex Volkanovski. Every single time that guy shows up, he always impresses me. He's always fast. His intelligence level is getting up there. He's well-rounded. He's an athlete. And the one thing that always blows my mind is how the fuck does he outstrike everybody? He outstruck, he outstruck Max Holloway, and Max Holloway is probably what? 4 inches taller than him, 5 inches taller than him, and he's always outstriking everybody. He outstruck Yair Rodriguez, another athlete who is also taller than him. So his distance control and his management is just off the charts. Talk about IQ. Like, I'm always impressed when he fights. But that's why I think what's next for Max. I think he sits there, he waits. I don't see anybody else out there in the featherweight division that can give him a run for his money. And I mean, the crazy thing is that Max Holloway is only 31 years old. 31 years old. And you look at his record, he's been fighting, like, I have 6 years on him, and he's done way more fights than I have. I like, someone goes, oh, he's only 31 years old, Demetrious. I'm like, he's fucking young. He's just in his prime as a man. But that's what I got for Max. I think Max sits there, waits, see what happens to Alex and Illy if that's the next matchup in the featherweight division, and see where he goes from there. Take some time off, relax, go surfing, hang out with your wife, hang out with Rush, and see what's next. I mean,
And we'll transition off this topic, but just one follow-up I wanted to give. It is pretty wild that Volkanovski has a 2.5-inch reach advantage on Max Holloway. So I did. Yeah, it's nuts. He has super long arms for his. So a height advantage is 5'11" versus, let's see, 5'11" versus 5'6". I mean, that's crazy.
5'6".
That's wild. And he has a 2.5-inch. He's like an NBA player or something.
So he's got long ass arms. Just saying.
Yeah. So that's, I will say, so that's interesting, but yeah.
Well, yeah.
No,
I don't know what to say there.
You're
you're
5'3". What? Let's see what I want to see what they list your reach at for the. You're only
I got that
a little
Michael
bit.
Jordan wingspan, dog. I got that Michael Jordan wingspan.
Yeah. So just to give comparison, you're 3 inches. 3 inches short. Oh yeah, your wingspan's not like too bad. 66-inch reach. So yeah, but
Thanks,
but
Coach. Thanks.
So yeah, so I mean that's only. So does Max Holloway have short arms things? That's only.
Are you saying Max Holloway has T-Rex arms? Is that what you're trying to say?
Yeah, because you would only. It's a similar difference. Like Volkanovski to Holloway is a similar difference in arm length to you and Holloway. Like I feel like that's pretty wild.
Well. It is what it is. As Max would say, it is what it is. Okay, enough about Max and Korean Zombie and Alex Volkanovski. First off, shout out to Korean Zombie. I hope you enjoy retirement. I think that's something that all us athletes are going to have to come to terms to one day, is walking into the sunset with your health. That's the main important thing, your mind and your family and your children. So you had an amazing career. We appreciate you, and we are grateful to be able to witness your interpretation of a zombie in mixed martial arts. So thank you so much. As they say in Korean, kanyahaseyo, which means have a good time or goodbye. All right, moving on. Like I said before, last week on the MightyCast, we don't just talk about the UFC. We talk about everything. Wyatt Championship does have a banger. Every Friday night, they do one fight night in Lupini Stadium. So if you guys are trying to watch that, free fights, it ranges from mostly just Muay Thai, but you can watch it on One Championship's app, which is the One Super app. Go download the App Store or your Android. But every once in a while, you have an athlete go off and do his own thing. And the athlete I'm talking about is Jorge Masvidal, a.k.a. Street Jesus in Miami, or Game Bread Fighting. He has a card coming up, I believe this is September, and this one's going to blow you guys' mind. You have Junior Dos Santos fighting Fabricio Werdum in a mixed martial arts bare knuckle fight. Now, my first reaction to hearing this news was, what the fuck? You have these guys, Junior Dos Santos and Fabricio Werdum, were both champions in the heavyweight division in the UFC. You also have Fabricio Werdum, who also submitted Fedor Emelianenko in Strikeforce. He was also a champion in Strikeforce. I don't know what these guys, or I don't even know where to start with this fight. I just see, you have bare knuckle fighting, and you guys know my opinion on that. I think it's absolutely dangerous. People get cut up, and I'm shocked that people don't break their hands more often. But now you're going to have a full-blown mixed martial arts fight that's going to be bare knuckle against Fabricio Werdum versus Junior Dos Santos. Yeah, I guess just tune in. It's going to be a fucking banger.
No, I mean, and I don't even have to. I'm asking you right now because we're on camera and other people don't know, but I know from our conversations, you would, even if you got a bag, you would never do bare knuckle,
I
right?
would never do. No, I broke on my hands multiple times. I I just wouldn't do it. I just don't. One, my face is pretty. I have no cuts. You know, my skin is almost immaculate. I have a great skincare routine. And each time I see those guys who do bare knuckle fighting, I'm like, Jesus Christ. Like, they get cut. Like, after the first exchange, when I saw it in Colorado, after every exchange, there was a cut. There was a cut every single time. And I just don't want to do that. Granted, this is bare knuckle MMA. But for me, I'm like, why not just throw the gloves on? But I think it appeals to more people to not have the gloves. For me, I'm just like, you guys are crazy. And it's almost like you have two guys who have been world champion caliber that are still in great shape. You know, I follow both of them on Instagram, and they're in both great shape. They're both continuing to train, and now they're about to fight each other in bare knuckle MMA. I think, you know, I think it's smart for people to start bringing bare knuckle fighting in, because I feel like now in 2023 it's more acceptable. To where back in the day, if this was back in the 90s, well, oh, this is human cockfighting, which is what they called, you know, the UFC back in the day. But now in 2023, it's more accepted. You have slap fighting, you have bare knuckle boxing, and now we're having bare knuckle fighting. Where bare knuckle fighting, it actually has a good following. I think athletes and people are trying to capitalize on bare knuckle mixed martial arts to see what it can do. So I'm excited. You know, I always like to support the other athletes who are trying to go on new business adventures. And I think with Game Break giving these guys the opportunity to explore bare knuckle MMA, the fans are always going to win. The fans are always going to win, especially when you have two athletes like that fighting. I don't know who else is on their card, but I'm sure it's, you know, a stacked card. But when I saw that, I was like, wow, that's coming up, and that's going to be an interesting fight. Like, bare knuckle MMA, Fabricio Werdum versus Junior Dos Santos. I mean, who else on the card? Any other, you know, noticeable guys, big stars on the card? I don't have that fight card pulled up in front of me.
So I'm not sure about the card, but one follow up I did want to have is because I'm with you that I'm not crazy about bare knuckle, and I'm certainly not totally convinced of it either. But the most interesting aspect, if I could say one interesting aspect, is I do love seeing someone like Mike Perry, who he was obviously pretty, he was solidly, you know, he was definitely a star in UFC, but nothing huge, and for a lot of the wrong reasons at times too. But in bare knuckle, it's not just that it's made him a star. The more interesting aspect I found is he's Mike Perry. You take him out of MMA and you put him in bare knuckle, he's really, really good at bare knuckle. There is something different about it, something unique skill set wise. Because, like, dude, I would take him against anyone in a bare knuckle fight. Like, he's like Mike Tyson in a bare, like he's beating Luke. If Luke Rockhold fought Mike Perry in the UFC, like, what do you think would happen? Probably Luke Rockhold, right? But Luke Rockhold has no chance against Mike Perry in bare knuckle. I find that pretty fascinating.
Yeah, I think Mike Perry has found his calling, right? Like, everybody says he is a modern day gladiator. That man belongs. If he was in, you know, the Roman times where they had Caesar and the gladiator days in, you know, Rome, he would survive, where the rest of us athletes would probably perish. He just loves and breathes this that type of style, and I think he's able to absorb the damage and be able to dish it out. And I think when they made that matchup, I was like, Luke Rockhold gave away his greatest weapons, which was his kicks. So if that fight was to happen in the UFC, you would have seen Luke Rockhold use his grappling. You would see him use his kicks, his high kick, his question mark kick, and he probably would have came away from the fight. So a perfect example, if Donald Cerrone were to fight Mike Perry in bare knuckle fighting, I would give the fight to probably Mike Perry, because he's just a fucking dog. Where in the UFC, Donald Cerrone ended up beating Mike Perry because he got him in an armbar. So yeah, there is something to be said different. It's a different skill set or different type of skill to have when you go into mixed martial arts, into bare knuckle. But now it's going to be bare knuckle mixed martial arts. So I'm going to tune in. I don't know how you guys can tune in it back at home, but I thought that was something that was interesting that I think you guys should know, that bare knuckle fighting, game bred, Junior Santos versus Fabricio Werdum, it should be a dope fight.
Oh yeah, and I'd also be remiss. I totally forgot about your boy Dodson. What do you think about him? He's killing it too.
That's another one. Like, he became the bare knuckle champion, and I feel it's great for Dodson to be able to get on a win streak. And the beautiful thing about what Dodson's doing is that he's not just doing bare knuckle. He's also fighting in Ryzen, right? Like, every once in a while, you get these athletes who were locked under a contract for a very, very long time. One like John Dodson, he was in the UFC. Me and him fought 2 times. And now he's out of the UFC. Now he's running around the world doing his thing. He's doing bare knuckle fighting. He's also doing Ryzen. I believe he's undefeated in Ryzen. I believe he's trying to get a matchup with Kyojo Horiguchi, which he was about to fight for the Bellator or the Ryzen. I think it was Bellator 125-pound strap. But he's a guy who's being successful outside of the UFC, and he's doing both. He's doing bare knuckle fighting, just became a champion there, and now he is doing Ryzen. And yeah, I'm happy for him, right? Like, I've always said he's been a very great athlete. Sometimes people need to get away from their main promotion to be able to shine, and that's what he's doing right now. He's shining. So shout out to John Dodson. I hope you're doing well, brother. I hope you and your family are having a wonderful time, and I hope you're listening, man. If you are, leave a comment. We'd love to have you on here one day just to get his experience of being a world title challenger, being under the UFC umbrella, and now doing his thing with bare knuckle fighting and Ryzen. So that's one of the things we want to have on this this podcast, guys, is we want to bring athletes on here, talk to them, and just get the perspective of their perspective of their career and why they chose to do certain things. Because everybody asks me all the time, why did I leave the UFC? And I tell them it was the best thing to happen to me, because that's where I was able to go out there and experience Muay Thai against one of the greatest Muay Thai fighters out there, against Rotunda. I have the opportunity potentially to grapple somebody. I'm about to go do IBJJF Worlds this Thursday. So that's one of the things that me and Michael really want to bring to this podcast, is different athletes and different people. I want to get Ariel Helwani on here. I always have a lot of questions for him. I don't know how he knows about every single fucking fight that's ever happened in the human history. But yeah, bring it back to full context. Shout out to John Dodson. Make sure you check out that Fabricio Werdum versus Jiu-Jitsu Santos. What else happened this weekend? Did we miss anything else?
I wanted to transition to what you brought up. So one thing that people kind of don't realize behind the scenes, but Demetrious is working really hard at that jiu-jitsu game, and right now you're not even training MMA. I tell this guy, like Henry and I were a couple months ago talking about, maybe we'll go to Seattle and train with Demetrious a little bit, and then you're just like, well, I ain't training MMA.
Yeah,
it's like even if Henry comes there, it's like, nope, I'm not training MMA. So talk a little bit about you competing in jiu-jitsu now for the first time, and why has it become such a passion for you lately?
Well, the thing is, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go back to my friend Fabricio Cejudo. Each time I got to Arizona, we always train in mixed martial arts. Always MMA, always MMA, always MMA. It's the same thing, which is not bad, but I feel for me, I get bored. I always get bored. And so for me, jiu-jitsu has became my new passion. It's my new love. In the gi, no gi's different. Like, no gi, my athletic ability shines. But in the gi, I stepped into it because it takes away my greatest asset, which is my movement and my athletic ability. And just the complexity that the gi brings to the table, it's just mind-blowing. Like, if you guys ever get the opportunity to do jiu-jitsu in the gi, I would highly recommend you do it, because it's going to open your mind to so many different possibilities. Worm guard, spider guard, half X, reverse deli hiva, Berlin Burlos. I mean, the list just goes on, the shit you can do inside the gi and the problems it brings to you. So the way I would put it for my gamers out there, you can either play Street Fighter. No gi is Street Fighter modern controllers. Street Fighter in classic controllers is the gi. You have to put way more effort, and you have to think more of the things you can do. So right now I'm in Las Vegas. That's why my backdrop is different. I'm here in Las Vegas at my dad's house. We just had a family reunion. And this Thursday, I'm competing in my very first tournament in IBJJF as a brown belt master 2. I'm super excited. It's something, I feel like this is where my martial arts journey has taken me, right? Like, I've done everything in the UFC. 6 years as a champion, 11 consecutive title defenses. I've been in one championship. I fought Rod Tang in a super fight. I beat one of the longest reigning champions in one championship, which was Adrian Moraes. Before him, it's Bibiano Fernandez. I beat Adriano. We had a trilogy, beat him twice. And after that fight at Adriano, I was like, man, there's something I want to go do. I've always wanted to do, I want to just grapple. Like, I just want to do jiu-jitsu. And my son does it. In mixed martial arts, I feel like training MMA, it's a very selfish sport. What I mean by that is that my kids can't do MMA. I'm away from my kids. The drive to my gym is an hour and 15 minutes. So it's, you know, it's a 2.5 hour commitment away from my family, just in driving, not actual training. So 2.5 hours is gone from driving. And then you have 2 hours gone from training away from the family. So that's 4.5 hours, 65 hours gone out of my day away from my family. My new gym that I train at Grapple Club is 8 minutes from my house. My kid's there. My wife comes there. So I'm not away from my family, right? And down here in Las Vegas, I've been training at America Top Team Las Vegas under Alex Davis, which he is a dying breed. That's one thing I want to try to hit on with you guys, even though you guys didn't ask about it, but I think it'd be something you guys need to hear. But training there, my wife, she came and watched me grapple with him and his other professor, Hidden, which he's another amazing athlete. And she was watching me grapple. And she goes, wow, like, I haven't seen you smiled like that in a very, very long time. And I was like, what do you mean? She goes, I can tell you found your new passion, your new calling. Like, what jiu-jitsu has done for you and our family has been nothing but extraordinary. Like, you're smiling, you're laughing, you're having a good time. Like, this is the smile and the look I saw on your face when you first jumped into mixed martial arts. So, yes, guys, tune in. IBJJF. I believe you can watch it on Flow Grappling, but I will be dropping my experience. I have somebody come out here to film me. We'll do a video. Hopefully Michael will be so kind to edit it for us, but it's going to be dope time. A very, very dope time. But yeah, when Henry comes up here, I'm not training MMA with him. We're going to do, if he asks me to train MMA, I will to help him get ready for a fight, but I don't see any reason for me to get punched in the face right now. There's no reason to, and I want to excel in my D game. That's where my main focus is. I'm not saying I'm done with mixed martial arts, but right now, what's, you know, giving me a hard on or keeping me hard is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah, so if you want to just plug that one more time so people know, and anyone who's in Vegas, and like you said, I know you're not entirely sure how people can watch, but what, so can you give the days again and the arena and all that stuff?
I believe it's a Las Vegas Convention Center, and I believe you can watch it on Flow Grappling. I could be wrong, guys. This is my first tournament. This is my first tournament since I've been 18 years old. So this is something, I'm doing something totally out of the fucking box. That's why it's exciting. Like, I have butterflies. I'm nervous. I can't wait to go out there and compete and see what's going to happen, right? And that's what I think keeps me unique, different. So yeah, it's going to be dope time. Make sure you guys tune in. And I'll have a breakdown of how my matches go after everything's done and said. But one of the things I wanted to hit on too, you hear a lot of things about managers. Have you been seeing some of the stuff that, you know, I think Sean O'Malley was talking about managers in mixed martial arts today. One of the things I'm going to say is that there is a dying breed of managers. And what I mean by that is that Matt Hume is a manager of mine. He manages me. Mostly when I was in the UFC, you have a guy like Alex Davis who manages most of the Brazilians. Edson Barboza, John Lineker, the list just goes on. You have Andre Pederneiras. He is a manager / a trainer. What I'm getting at is that for me, I've been in the game for a very, very long time. And I love when I see a manager who can fucking fight. Like, legit fight. Because he's done it, right? Matt Hume used to fight at Extreme Cage Battle. He's fought Eric Paulson. He's fought Pat Miletich. You look at Alex Davis, judo background. He's fought back in the day. You look at Andre Pederneiras. He also fought back in the day. Like, those guys who manage people who used to legit fight back in the day, that is a fucking dying breed. And I love training with Alex Davis here at American Top Team because, you know, we're training together. He's trying to throw me. He's teaching me judo trips. He's a true martial artist. It's very often you don't get managers nowadays who are true martial artists. Now, I don't know every single manager under the sun, and I'm not throwing shade on those guys, but I feel like the cycle of that dying breed was those guys spot professionally. They went through the grind, basically laid the path for me, Henry, all us other athletes to fight. And then now that their career is done, they become managers. They become managers and they look after my generation, right? Now, the cycle is that when I retire, I go off and I start managing fighters and guide them through their career. But I'm not going to do that. My time is way too valuable, and I want to be able to spend it with my wife and kids and create content and do YouTube and play video games. So that's why I'm saying it's a dying breed. Is Alex Volkanovski, is Israel Adesanya going to be a manager? Is Jose Aldo going to be a manager? Most likely not. So that's why I'm saying it's a dying breed, that if you guys, had to pick a manager out there, pick somebody who's done it, who's fought before, because they have a side to them that they know what you're going through, if that makes sense. Or, people will say, no, you're fucking stupid, DJ. You should get a manager who's ever fought before because they know the business side. But for me, it was a real special treat that really hit me while I was training with Alex Davis. And I've seen him manage guys. I've been in the same, I fought his guys before I fought Adriano, who's managing him. And to be able to share the mat with him and train, I don't know. I just told him, I was like, dude, you're a dying breed. And he goes, what do you mean? I was like, you fought before, you're a high-level judo player, and you manage athletes. Like, the cycle of that is that I'm supposed to manage athletes after this because I'm a high-level fighter. I've done it all, and I have no interest in managing fighters. So that's a dying breed. I know that was a little tangent rant.
Yeah, so I'm gonna challenge you on a little bit of this. So, what's the most thing that you're looking for in a manager? Because I think that will help us understand a little bit. Are you looking for the most money? Or are you looking for more of like the right direction, the right opponents, that kind of thing? What's your thought?
Well, so for me, I didn't really care about my opponent. That's one thing I didn't care. Like, the UFC was sending a contract. The only time people were like, oh, that's a lie. Honestly, when the UFC sent the contract to fight TJ Dillashaw, there were some demands that we wanted in there that they weren't able to see eye to eye. One of the demands, ladies and gentlemen, was that I knew TJ Dillashaw could not make 125 healthy. I fucking knew that. Me and Matt Hume, we knew that. So in the contract, we demanded that if TJ Dillashaw does not make 125, we fight for his belt at 135. They said, absolutely not. That can't happen. That was a reasonable demand, right? Because TJ Dillashaw was already looking like fucking Skeletor at 135. And then we knew if he came down to 125, he would look like a Holocaust patient. And you guys can go back and look at the pictures when he fought Henry Cejudo. And then he popped for EPO, doping. So we threw that in our demand. So, but going through my career, we didn't care who we fought. We fought John Dotson twice. We fought Chris Carriazo. We fought everybody in the flyweight division. And then when it comes to picking the right opponent, we just never cared about that. Looking for the right direction, it's very difficult, right? Because for me, where I'm at now in my career, it's like when it comes to mixed martial arts, I think that's kind of different. When it comes to managing outside of fights, that's a different story. I have a management team, 100 managed, ran by Luke Mitzman. Absolutely amazing. He's also a jiu-jitsu enthusiast. Me and Vibe, we there's a good chemistry there. I think chemistry is the main thing. And I'm still managed by First Round Management, where they handle mixed martial arts appearances and all that other stuff. We have a good chemistry. I mean, I think it's mostly about chemistry, and yeah, for me, it's chemistry. Like all my management, we don't have contracts. We have a word and a handshake, and I believe that's all a man has in this world is his word and handshake. And that's it is for me. Everybody else, they're different. People are shady. I'm pretty much transparent, straightforward. This is what I want, and I tell my management team, any deal I do, before I go into it, I ask everybody, I was like, what do you want from me? What is it you want from my brand? What do you want from the Mighty Gaming or the Mighty brand? And then if our values seem aligned, then we work together. So that's what I do. But for me, I'm not going to speak for everybody else out there. Just when you're looking for management, just make sure you feel okay and you think there's chemistry there and you trust them. That's all I can say.
Yeah, and not to stick on this topic forever, but I do think you're talking about two separate things. I think more specifically of what O'Malley's talking about. When you sign that contract, there's only one manager or management team that is eating some of that fight contract. Because what you're mentioning, the appearances, all that stuff, they're not going to touch if you sign a one championship contract. So, but you're still saying that manager, so a UFC fighter, they go to UFC, they have the, whatever it is, the 10 to 20% is taken out of their contract to go to that manager. You still think it's important for that manager to have fighting experience?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it's just dope, right? I think it's just dope. That's just my personal opinion, right? And my opinion, people may not agree with me, but for me, I think it's great because Matt Hume, I've had a manager like Matt Hume. He understands the game. He's been there. He's fought. He's bled. He's actually bled, sweat, and cried as a fighter. I can't say the same thing about Malky or Abe. I love those guys dearly, but they've never done that. You look at Alex Davis. He's done that. He's bled. He's sweat, and he's cried in fighting. And now he's managing guys. The list can go on. You know, I think Anthony Pettis was a manager at one point, managing fighters. I don't know if he still is, but he's done that. So I'm just saying it's just a dying breed. That's where this whole conversation went to. Like when I was training with Alex Davis, I was like, man, you're a dying breed. And he was like, man, you should manage fighters. I was like, absolutely not. I see what you go through. I see what you go through. I see what Matt goes through. So that's something I don't want to have to go through. And plus, my time is valuable. I spend enough time with my family and kids training for these fights. Last thing I want to do is take more time away from them training other athletes for their fights and managing them, traveling around the world, doing all that stuff. So, you know, I think it was just an interesting conversation and something that just came through my mind when I'm out here in Vegas. And I heard Sugar Sean O'Malley said, and I agree with, you know, everybody has a personal opinion, you know. If Sean, you know, nowadays you've seen a lot of athletes do their own contract. I remember when I was talking to Joseph Benavidez before he retired, he was doing his own contract. He was like, I know what I want. This is what I want. Me and the UFC have a good relationship. This is what they gave me. I'm happy with it. Boom. So there was no management. So he didn't lose 20%. Right? So I think what Sugar Sean O'Malley's getting at is that, hey, if you have a good relationship with the matchmaker and you can, you know, lobby for, you know, hey, I want $200,000. Will you give it to me? Yeah, we'll give it to you. Boom. 20% is not cut off. But if you have a management team going there and say, hey, we want to get $200,000, granted, they're going to try to get the most money as possible because they eat what they kill. Right? They're going to eat what they kill. So they're going to try to get the most money as possible, but they're going to take 20% of it. But if you go in there and you want $500,000 and you can get it from the promoter, and you do get it, congratulations. You just saved 20%. But if you feel that your management team can get more money than you can, then hire him. That's what I think Sugar was doing. I think Sugar was saying that, you know, if you can lobby and you think you can take care of yourself and you don't want to give away 20%, boom, go ahead, do it. But if you don't want to have that hassle and you don't think you can get the most money and you can't argue or whatever, then have a lawyer. So, but I think those guys are dying breed. That's my personal opinion.
No, it's a fair perspective. We obviously are not the ones looking at those contracts, and they're not public like they are with like the NBA and the MLB and NFL. So, you know, we from the outside looking in, we have absolutely no idea what goes into those contracts, what goes into the negotiations. But I feel like you're maybe the first person I've heard have that perspective. So no, I just found it interesting because when you're an outside looking in, you're just like, I want to get paid. You know what I mean? Like if I'm a fan, I'm just like, dude, I don't care if you have fighting experience. I just want to get paid. But you know, you do make I could see from your perspective, and not to say that it is the same in other sports. There are NBA agents that are former players. So I could see what you're saying.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was a cool conversation to have, and just it's kind of been out there. And I talked to Alex about it, and my manager Matt Hume, he was a fighter. Then Alex Davis, he's a fighter. He used to train back in the day. So I thought it was kind of cool. But ladies and gentlemen, I think we've covered everything you guys want to hear about. If there's something that we missed, please leave a comment down in the section below, because me or Michael, if Michael writes, you know it's from Henry Cejudo. That's, if you see Henry chatting, that's Michael writing. But we appreciate you guys so much for tuning into the MightyCast episode 2. We might take next weekend off because I'm competing on Thursday, and then Tyron competes on Saturday. So we will see. we'll try to see if we can film on Sunday. We got a lot of stuff going on. But once again, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment. Michael, I appreciate you once again. Hey, and ladies and gentlemen, Michael is single. So if you guys have any hot-ass friends, chicks, please send pictures of him in a Discord. We would love to get Michael a date. He's currently in Arizona. Michael, anything you want to tell the beautiful people?
No, yeah, I mean, I wanted to end the show on something that a little bit of a sour note, so it's a little bit hard of a transition, but I did want to talk a little bit, and I talked to Demetrious about this off camera, but the passing of Windham, Rotunda, Bray Wyatt. Yeah, this is obviously an MMA podcast, but I did kind of want to just talk about, because it was something that was just a shocking death to a lot of people, and there is this crossover that people don't like to believe, but there's a crossover between MMA and pro wrestling. You'll see a lot of fans like both. You'll see a lot of MMA fighters inspired by pro wrestling. I know your kid. I don't know if your other son likes wrestling, but I know Maverick, your son, he's a wrestling fan. But no, I just wanted to say, seeing Bray Wyatt pass away, it was just so weird, because I'm a huge NBA fan too. You know, when Kobe passed away, it was absolutely stunning. And that impacted me deeply as well. But anyone who's I don't know if you were a pro wrestling fan, Demetrious, growing up, but
I was.
No, so maybe you'll understand it better, but I've been spending all week trying to explain to my good friends who do not understand pro wrestling at all, and they can't fathom, like, dude, how is this hitting you like so hard? Like, why is like I just don't get it. And I'll send them promos of Bray Wyatt and some of his best moments, and they just don't get it. And it really is something about the art form of professional wrestling that you just feel such a connection with these guys. And I've met enough wrestlers in the past that they'll try to act like, oh, I'm not my character, but there's so much in them that is their character. So you feel like you know these guys watching them on TV every week. So there was just something about Bray Wyatt that when I stopped watching wrestling for about 10 years, I'd say from about 2004 to 2014, because once I got older, it's like, yeah, you got to start worrying about, girls, and, I got into sports, and so I kind of stopped right, I'd say 1997, 2004 is when I stopped. Then all of a sudden, my friend, 2014, there was a show in Chicago, a pay-per-view, and my brother and my friend were like, let's just go. We used to like wrestling. Like, we weren't even thinking we're going to get back into it. We're like, let's just watch it. At that show, Bray Wyatt wrestled John Cena. It ended up being one of his best matches, and I had no idea who Bray Wyatt was. He comes out, and we do the whole Firefly thing, holding up our phones, and just I don't know what it was, but like something captivated me. I just thought like, oh, the wrestlers were so much cooler when I was younger, but he just hooked me in, and from that point, 2014 until now, got me back into wrestling. He was and it was funny because I saw Ariel Helwani say the same thing. He tweeted that too, like, hey, Bray Wyatt actually got me back into wrestling. It's like, wow, to think that there's me, that was the case. My brother, my best friend who went with us to that show, Ariel Helwani, there was just some connection about Bray Wyatt, the way he talked, the charisma, the promos. Like, he didn't even wrestle. He wrestled like 3 times in the last 3 years. I literally think he only wrestled 3 times. But
wow,
yeah, there was something about him. So I just wanted to say my words for him. I'm R.I.P. to Windham Rotunda. It is such a void in the pro wrestling landscape that he's gone. There's never going to be anyone like him again. And like I said, you can't see my setup right now, Demetrious, but I got a WCW neon sign. It's something that I've always been a fan of, and I'll always have Bray Wyatt to thank for igniting that spark again. So I wanted to say that, and I know your boy Maverick, he took it pretty hard too. So what was it? What was it like for him when he got the news?
He was sad, man. Obviously my kids are a lot younger, so they haven't really experienced death in the family. Obviously my sister passed away a couple years ago, but they haven't experienced death. But we try to be very transparent with them that one of his favorite wrestlers, I believe his Bray Wyatt, his character was the Fiend, right? Like, he dressed up in these like amazing characters, right?
Yeah, no, that's what made him so special. Is he had like so many different characters, and that was the most famous one. Yes.
Yes. So my son actually has that character, and I was like, dude, that guy looks dope. It reminds me of Slipknot, like the heavy metal band. And he took it pretty hard. He was very sad, and I told him, I was like, Bray Wyatt was younger, but he was 36 years old, and to see a beautiful soul like that be taken away from us at such a young age, and he's touched so many people's lives, especially my son. So nothing but respect, and I wish him and his family their condolences. And yeah, it's very sad. And wrestling, dude, even though this is an MMA podcast, I'll be totally down talking about wrestling because I follow that shit because my children love it. Like, we go to Monday Night Raw each time it's in Seattle because, you know, the art of it, the charisma, the storylines, like the Uso, the bloodline, you know, Jimmy and Jay Uso, that right there, when he super kicked him, he's out. Like, dude, I'm totally down. And Cody Rhodes, you know, Brock Lesnar. So, dude, if you want to talk WWE, I will talk WWE because this podcast, yes, it's about mixed martial arts, but it's about the things that we're passionate about, right? Like, we're not just going to, you know, my number one passion is gaming. After that, it's going to be martial arts. And then after that, it's going to be, you know, my wife and my kids. And obviously, they're important. But what I'm getting at is that, Michael, if you want to talk about wrestling, I am totally down, dog. So, we'll talk.
We also need to get some pro wrestlers on here at some point. Do some interviews. One guy, I don't know if you know who he is, but Kenny Omega. You'll just talk off. Yeah, you'll talk off them all day about just a huge gamer. He'd probably beat your ass in Street Fighter. Like, he actually definitely would. No. You don't
probably
think so?
Tekken, he would, because I was actually about to fight him, not in real life, but in a actual competition in gaming. I think it was Tekken because Bandai Namco was trying to set it up. I believe it was Tekken, but yeah, dude, Austin Creed, I worked with him before. I know he's a New Day, him and Big E, and those guys. Yeah, let's do it, dude. I'm sure we can we have the connections to make it happen. And I think the fans would love it. So fans, if there's a certain wrestler you guys want us to get them on the podcast, let us know, and we will do our best to make it happen. So leave a comment, and we will make sure to do that.
Wait, so you're saying, I just want to get this clear. You're saying right now you would beat Kenny Omega in Street Fighter, or you're saying you don't even want to go against him in Street Fighter?
No, I would fuck him up in Street Fighter 6.
What? Seriously?
I guarantee.
You think you'd beat him?
Absolutely. I'll put money
put it
on
out there. Put it out there right now. Cut a little promo for him.
I say, Kenny Omega, people out there say you're one of the greatest at Street Fighter 6. But I'm putting $100 right now. Hell, shit, I'll put $1,000 on it. Street Fighter 6, me versus you. I guarantee I beat you. We can do 5 matches. Street Fighter 6, not modern controllers. Classic controllers. Or you can do modern if you want. But your $1,000, your boy Mighty right here beats you in Street Fighter 6. Balls in your court, Playboy.
What a way to end the show on. That's dude, I'm clipping that off. I'm tagging him, and we're gonna get this done because he's gonna be a little busy because as we tape, he's about to wrestle in front of 80,000, 90,000 fans at Wembley. But we'll get it out there for him.
Hey, well, that's your job. But I made the call out. We'll see what happens. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of MightyCast episode 2. I am your host. I'm not your host. We are your hosts, Demetrious Johnson and Michael Wonsover. We appreciate you guys tuning in, and make sure you guys like, subscribe, and tell your mom about the podcast because I'm sure she's going to love to hear us. Oh, yeah, and Michael needs a date for prom. We out, guys. Peace.